Let's explore the theme of being an inspiration. You want to be an inspiration to the world, to lead the way in some respect. So inspiration correlates with admiration. So if someone is inspired, they're seeing an ideal. So we are all inspired by our ideal, which is the archetypal energy of beauty, truth, and goodness. When we see a rendition that takes us closer to our deities, the things that we bow to, and the things that we worship are the things that we do, we say, we think, we feel, the way that we are, the things that we buy. We worship with every dollar. We worship with every minute. But we're worshiping an ideal. We're worshiping something that we want to become, right? If I buy a Snickers bar, I want to maybe be transported into a high state or a more energized state, etc. If I weed the garden, I have an ideal of a neat and weeded and beautiful garden, right? So we're always moving towards that. And the things that inspire us are in a couple of different areas. So one of them is being incredibly good, right? Genius inspires us. And I'm not talking about, just someone in physics or anything like that. Someone that can run more gracefully, more fast, more effortlessly than 99% of the population, than 99.9% of the population. That's a direction of competence, of excellence, of genius. And so that's one of our ideals, because if we had complete and total mastery of our lives, we could and would create anything that we desire, anything that we imagine. Because competency is the ability to do something, and complete competency is the ability to do anything, everything, right? That's total competency. Anything I can imagine, I can do, and I can imagine anything. That's complete competency. So that's one of the trajectories of inspiration. When you see someone doing something 10 times better than anyone else that you've seen, there is an admiration, a respect, and a recognition that that's going forward, right? Another form of inspiration, pain tolerance, right? So we all have ideas, we all have aspirations, and most of them, including myself, live up to, 1% of that. I have all kinds of ideas and goals and this and that and the other, but I don't even have the time, right? Even if I was really, really competent, unless I got really, really competent at delegating and had other people doing all these things, I don't have the time. Just the number of movies and movie scenes that I've imagined, right, could take me an entire lifetime. Just the number of books that I haven't written, the ones that I have written take this lifetime. The books that I haven't written would take another lifetime. Different business ideas I haven't implemented would take a lifetime, and the ones that I have are taking this lifetime. There's lots to do, but some of the things that I haven't done do not have to do with time limitations. They have to do with pain tolerance. I don't want to be rejected as much as I might be rejected going off on this path. I don't want to make the number of mistakes it would take me to learn to do this idea, and so I just haven't done it, right? I don't want to work the number of hours it might take me to make this amount of money in this context, and so I haven't done it. I don't want to focus my mind enough to read these books that might be useful, but I really don't enjoy reading them. And you contrast that with something like the pain tolerance of Elon Musk. I mean, how painful is it to be, seeking to do 3 companies for humanity, solar power, cleaner, safer cars, and making the planet multi-planetary, actually protecting the life on this planet in the event of an asteroid, and to do all 3 at once and pour hundreds of millions of dollars of your own money and work 100-hour weeks and then be ganged up on by Wall Street trying to crush your business, shorting it, right? How painful, is that? How painful is it to fail publicly, and to be criticized for every little thing you do wrong while you're doing so much? It's a pain tolerance, right, that I don't have. Like, I don't want to be in that amount of pain. And so I'm not doing anything on the scale of Elon Musk, but I can admire it, right? Because he's willing to go deeper into pain in order to transcend that pain for ideals, for visions. And we can admire that. So you've got competency, like Elon Musk is doing things that nobody else has done. So you've got severe competence, and that's a vector of admiration, of inspiration. And then you've got pain tolerance. I'm willing to feel whatever pain it takes to feel to succeed. I'm not going to let pain stop me from pursuing the path that I think is the right path, and on that level, you also have the inspiration around Jesus, right? Jesus was willing to die for the freedom to talk about new ideals that weren't particularly popular in the Roman Empire, in the cult of it, of the day. And then you have other people, right? You have Galileo willing to talk about science to the Catholic Church, right? Look through the telescope. No, we may kill you. You are a heretic because you're breaking with the cult of the day. So you had Jesus breaking with the cult of Rome and being willing to be crucified for his values. And you have Galileo breaking with the cult of the Catholic Church and being willing to put his life on the line for truth, right? He saw something that did not jive with the dogma, and he was willing to risk everything, right? So that's a pain tolerance. It's a risk tolerance, and we can admire that because every one of us has areas. Every one of us has areas that we believe in to some extent, but we're not willing to go through the pain it would take to, for example, if you're homosexual in a homophobic cult, and you believe that this is right, this love that I have with this man, this feels right. I believe in this, but I don't want to have the entire family gang up on me in Thanksgiving and shame me and humiliate me. So I'm not going to talk about it, right? We all have areas where we would or could be crucified for doing what we believe to be right. And most of us do not want or choose to fight most of those battles. We'd like to leave them for somebody else and keep the secret. So when we see someone doing the right thing because they believe in it and willing to die if necessary, we admire it, because that is the energy that transcends dogma, that transcends stupidity, that transcends cruelty. That is the direction that ultimately transforms the cult, right? So Jesus transformed the Roman cult towards Christianity, right? And then Christianity became the cult. Witch hunts, cruelty, the new dogma. And then Galileo is helping to change the Christian cult into a more data-based picture of reality. It's not just some old men getting together, in the bottom of the Vatican to decide which scrolls are going to make it into the Bible. We're actually going to open up the narrative about reality to everyone, where everyone can gather data and everyone can share that data on an equal basis. And the world will be a synergy of all the data from all the people. And each bit of data will iterate and create a part of the story, right? It's a bigger model than one person said this at one time, and that's the way it will always be, and anyone who disagrees will be killed, right? Who wants to live in that world? Anyone who disagrees, anyone who has different opinions will be killed in the name of God. Like, who wants to live in that world? So Galileo risks his life to offer a different paradigm, right? And when scientists such as Rupert Sheldrake and others diverge from the dogma of science, right, the unsubstantiated, politically correct view, to bring in divergent data from the status quo and risks their career, and ultimately changes science from, this idea, this dogma, because this person said so back in the 1800s or whatever, and opens it up even more. We admire someone who's, Winston Churchill, with his concerns about Hitler being ignored for 10 years in England. Nobody would talk to him. Nobody praised him. Everyone made fun of him. No one would listen to his talks. And then he became prime minister. And then he defeated Hitler. Right? Someone that's willing to unequivocally do what they believe to be right when everyone around them thinks they're a fool, right? We admire that. And so we're inspired by it, right? If we went back to, the 1930s in England, statistically speaking, we would most likely join the majority and make fun of Winston Churchill. Read the headlines, another one of Winston's paranoias, another one, and get a laugh, right? But that didn't stop him, right? And so we admire someone who is not swayable by popularity. And it's a good thing, because the majority is always wrong. There has never been a time in the history of humanity, and there never will be a time, when the majority will be on the bleeding edge of technology, be that spiritual technology, mental technology, physical technology, emotional or cultural technology. Excellence is always the domain of a small minority, right? And the majority kills off the majority of potential excellence because we don't care enough about our vision about other people. It's like my attitude, if I was in Winston Churchill's position, my attitude would very likely be, fuck them, right? I'm not going to keep giving speeches about the threat of a Second World War and about the problems with Hitler and appeasing this. I'm not going to just talk and be insulted for 10 years because people are too dumb to grasp what is obvious to me. If they're too dumb, let them kill themselves, right? I'll prepare and go to another country, right? Let's see, what's the country that's most likely to avoid Hitler, you know, with when he probably wins, given the stupidity and appeasement going on, you know? Maybe, I don't know, Canada, or, you know, where's a good place to live out the rest of my days, right? Because it hurts too much to, you know, pour everything out. It's like, I really care about my country. I really care about everyone else, right? So that's why we admire. So pain tolerance, the willingness to stand alone in the face of an overwhelming majority, right? Competence. These are areas that we are inspired by, we respect. Another direction of admiration, of inspiration, is generosity, right? Someone who could do it all, like they're famous, they're wealthy, they're talented, and they want to help the poor. You know, Jimmy Carter, former president of the United States, building houses for people who can't afford houses, Habitat for Humanity, right? There's an evolutionary movement we see there, right? We understand that there is enough food, there is enough raw materials, there is enough land for every human being to survive, to have a safe, legal place to sleep. And we understand that the reason we don't have that is the sociopathic tendencies of greed and narcissism in excess. Meaning, you know, I want 10 mansions, but I won't give anything to the homeless around me. It's, you know, we understand that. We also understand that we're in a cult that worships that, right? So that's another path to inspiration, right? If you are inspired by the deity of money and fame and power, then you will be inspired by the Bill Gateses, right? The Vladimir Putins, right? Money, power, more power, right? So it's what you ideal, it's what you associate with beauty, truth, and goodness, right? But we also admire someone who chooses, who volunteers to give their wealth away, to give their power to help the elderly, to help children. We respect and admire a firefighter that risks their life to save a child from a burning building. We admire that. It's a form of transcendence. We're transcending the personal greed in service to something bigger than ourselves. Anytime we see loyal, dedicated service, we understand that that can make the world a better place. And so we're inspired by that, right? This person did this and this and this and this so that these great ideas could come about. We're inspired by transcending the self. Another thing that we're inspired by is beauty and great beauty, right? So we look at cathedrals that took 100, 200, 300 years to build. And they're enormous projects of tremendous beauty. And we understand that someone stood there for 30 years chiseling away at this stone. That someone stood there for 10, 20, 30 years laying bricks, mixing mortar, so that this thing that they might not be alive when it was around could come into being, right? There's again a sense of transcendence. There's also something beautiful, right? So what do we? So we have the path of suffering. We respect people who are willing to endure more pain than we are to do something beautiful, good, and true. Right? We also respect suffering for self-realization, right? That person worked 100 hours a week and now they've got their mansion, right? They did this and they did that and they tried this and they did all these things and now they have the payoff, right? We respect that as well. So the willingness to work hard is one path of respect and inspiration. The willingness to endure pain is another path of respect and inspiration. Incredible competence is another path of inspiration. Transcendence is another path, the willingness to think of the whole. And great beauty with the discipline, right? With vision and discipline to create something big that will outlive us. So we've got great beauty, great transcendence. These are the inspirations, the willingness to stand alone in the face of an overwhelming majority that says that we're wrong. The willingness to die, the ultimate expression of pain tolerance, the willingness to die for what we believe to be beautiful, good, and true. These are the things that we admire. And so in order to be an inspiration, the very first step is to connect with ourself. Now, this is not the traditional cult brainwashed ego. When we connect with ourself, we connect with an inner symmetry, an inner energy field that is beautiful, that is true, that is good. It's us. It's the most true thing, the most beautiful thing, the most good thing that there is. It is us. And in order to get in touch with us, we have multiple paths. We have the untraumatized child, which is almost completely unavailable, right? The systematic sociopathic behavior that traumatizes, shames, humiliates our children and adolescents makes the path of innocence almost impossible. But you do have the odd person that gets through, and you also have the gifts of children with Down syndrome, for example, right? That retain their innocence because they lack the mental capacity to perceive the cruelty around them. Right? We are all born innocent, and then we slowly perceive the descent into betrayal and incompetence and stupidity and cruelty around us. It's depressing and sad, and so we shut down. We dissociate from that amount of pain, and in doing so, we reduce our pain, but we also lose touch with ourselves. In trauma, we lose touch with the larger self. So that path is unavailable to most of us. So then how do we connect? How do we transcend the trauma, transcend the cynicism, transcend the bitterness, the hurt, the rage, to come back to ourself, right? We have meditation, silent sitting meditation, Buddhist meditation of different kind. We have meditation. We have breath, which is one of the most important forms of meditation. Let's do this together, right? So an invitation, if you're willing to go into this terrain. I am here now. Be here now. Just being with breath for an hour, 30 minutes, just being with breath reconnects us with presence, reconnects us with the energy that is the uninterrupted flowing, that is the presence, before it is cut up into thoughts, into language, and into muscle tensions, into judgments and restrictions that we use to maintain, to hold on to an identity, a pattern of thinking, feeling, speaking, doing, and being that in many ways is very rigid and very tight. So we have the connection of the self with breath, the restoration of the uninterrupted flow of energy, which has a tremendous amount of beauty, truth, and goodness beneath its mechanism, beneath the choice to restore the uninterrupted flow is acceptance of what is. It's letting go of all judgments. You cannot breathe deeply and be 100% committed to the breath and judge anything, including yourself, right? So in order to breathe and let all the energy to restore to the unadulterated flow of self is to accept everything that is, inside and out, is to trust everything that is, inside and out, is to love, because when we breathe deeply and fully, we connect with ourselves, and ourselves are inextricably connected to all of reality. And so we cannot hold a superiority or an inferiority. To love is to connect with, and to breathe is to connect with, right? All that is. So you will not succeed at deep, committed breathing meditation if you have a single thought you're trying to control or suppress. If you have a single agenda you will not let go of. If you have a single superiority or a single inferiority to God or the world or others or the enemy, the other, right? The one who is different. If we will not let go and feel any feeling that passes through, if we will not release the feelings within our body that we are holding there, which means releasing all the muscles, we cannot breathe fully. The perfect breath, the perfect breathing meditation is unconditional acceptance, surrender, love, healing, release, transformation, joy, and presence to what is. And we admire those who can let go of everything. Right? The priests, the monks that can truly let go, right? To love is to allow freedom. Right? I love you, therefore you cannot have sex with anyone else, therefore you have to be with me, therefore you cannot do this because I love you, right? The love of the child, dependency and need. The love of the adolescent, lust and possessiveness. Right? The love of the spiritual adult, I love you. Do whatever it is that you want to do and explore. You are free, right? I love you, you're not free, right? You cannot get into credit card debt. I don't want that for you. Don't do that, right? Because I love you. I don't want you to feel that suffering because I love you. I don't want to feel that suffering of seeing you go down. I don't want to see that. And so don't do it, So you have the love, I love you, so you have to dress nicer. Right? We cannot judge any of that love, right? We have to accept in order to breathe unconditionally, right? I don't like those types of people, right? You cannot think that thought and breathe the perfect breath. So breathing is a way to connect with ourself, right? And once we are connected with ourself and find our center in that self, based on the history, the patterns around us, there is a certain pattern of energy, a certain pattern of beauty, truth, and goodness that feeds us, that we love, right? A certain path of beauty, truth, and goodness that we love. And this becomes our destiny. This becomes our purpose. This becomes our joy. This becomes our celebration. To explore that direction, that discipline, that reflection that becomes our, inspiration. We inspire ourselves with the presence of self. And everyone who is deeply in love, deeply enthused, right? To be in God, to enthuse in God, to be enthused about life, about reality. Everyone who is enthused, who is filled with God, with Goddess, with all that is an inspiration. Because God, Goddess, all that is 100% competent, is 100% powerful, is 100% beautiful, is 100% good, is 100% true, and is present, is willing to feel every pain, to be with us as we die, to be with us as we fail, to be with us in jealousy, envy, and rage, and allow the perfect freedom to be ourselves, to fuck up, to fail miserably, to hurt other people. God, Goddess, all that is, does not stop us from the choices that bring unimaginable suffering. But is there with us as we live both the amazing success, the transcendent moments, and the horrific failure, with unconditional love. A love that we cannot feel a lot of the time, but that God, Goddess, all that is, feels all of the time. In deep trust, in deep surrender, in deep belief, in deep confidence that over the eons, that everything that is will evolve, will grow to become more beautiful, more good, more true, more symmetrical, more complex, because it feels good. Because conscious, sustainable fun feels much better than chronic and unnecessary suffering. Because it feels good.